last one. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I too, this is exciting to be on this side of the screen and talking to people in our industry. I think this is an amazing time and opportunity that we have. And I know that I've really moved forward in a way that I didn't see myself moving our business forward, but it's been an amazing pivot. So I want to know where you guys, maybe where you're from and what role you play in the industry. That would be super helpful. My background is event planning. So I own a company called the Planner Collective. We before pandemic, we specialized in expos, conferences, planning, execution, all the things that kind of fall under that umbrella. And we had the opportunity to do a virtual event last summer and spearhead that. And I'm so thankful that we did because in the process, we were able to learn a lot about the virtual side of things and kind of like not even knowing it, but getting ourselves ready for what we're experiencing now. So what I'm going to share with you is what we've found as to be like a framework to transition an event. So this could be super helpful if you are moving an event from maybe an in-person to an online. You might have a client and you're just not sure what the next steps are, or maybe they're really bogged down in the tech. So what we've done is just really taken a more simplified approach. Oh, I think somebody's talking in the back. So this is me. I love celebrations. I love networking. I love talking to other people, learning about different ways of doing business. I love celebrating, thus the champagne. And my #1 favorite food is donuts. So let me know if you guys can resonate with that. I lived in Minneapolis for a while, and there are so many different donut shops that I just kind of like took Sundays to go try new donut shops. So let me know what your favorite donut is. Mine is chocolate frosting with colored sprinkles. It has to be a cake donut. That's my favorite. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. And I am in the Midwest, and I own this business called the Planner Collective. So here's where we're going now. So I kind of want to give my explanation or how we view what a virtual event is, what mindset your client really gets to be in when they're hosting a virtual event and when you're leading that conversation of a virtual event. It's on us as planners and industry professionals to really be the champion and the leader on what it could look like to have a virtual event. Also, the framework that I was talking about to transition an event online, kind of like what we do, and then a case study of what went well. So to us, a virtual event, I mean, we're in one right now, kind of fun. It's very meta that I'm saying what is a virtual event in an event, but a virtual event is super interactive, high engagement, really aims at creating a unique or similar experience to the physical counterpart. So where a lot of our clients get tripped up is, you know, they've done it for years, 10 years, 20 years in person. And this is just a really new way of doing business online for a lot of them. So what I try and do is frame up, okay, what did you like about your in-person event? You know, how can we make it an experience that your attendees, that your booth participants, that your sponsors, your exhibitors, your attendees, everyone's going to walk away with something and really feel like, wow, that event was amazing. So a virtual event just enhances that. And I have a full tech team that works behind the scenes. And my lead technologist always likes to say that technology is a complement, right? It's not a fix. It's not a, wow, we're just going to have this virtual event. It's going to be amazing. Of course, things break. Of course, things happen. But our intention is to really have technology be a complement to what we're creating. So this is how we kind of frame up virtual events to our clients as we move forward in the process. And also, I want to know what your definition of a virtual event is. Is it engagement? Is it, you know, the group talking before me, they were talking about, you know, creating leads or lead gen, or like, what's the purpose? So I kind of want to know from you guys, what is the definition of a virtual event to you? So just drop that in the comments. So if you think about it, it's, real-time interaction. I'm in the Midwest. There could be somebody from like across, over in Europe watching this same thing in real time live. And I think that's the most amazing thing that I've really picked up on with virtual, is that you can live stream and it can be content on demand from wherever you are. And again, it helps our clients build their awareness, build their marketing presence when you approach it from that angle. And it's just a really, really amazing way to help them meet their goals. Also, something that I've been saying a lot and has been resonating with people who have always done events the same way, in the same venue, maybe they just bounce around to different locations. And I've really framed it up like your platform is your venue. Like if you were to have an in-person event, you would have you'd be in a conference space, you'd order food, you'd have the AV tech, you'd have all your signage, right? All of that costs money. The same thing's going to happen with a platform. Your platform is your venue. It is going to cost money to host an event online. A lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be, so inexpensive, so cheap to host online. But there are expenses to a virtual event, and it's really up to us to describe it in a way that resonates with people. So if this helps you describe it to your client or a prospective somebody, this has really framed it up for people in a way like, oh, I totally get that, right? Because a lot of people are like, I don't know how much it costs, they're really scared of the cost. And I just try and equate it that way. So those are kind of like two little nuggets that I wanted to pass along. So I am very mindset driven and curious as a business owner. So I always ask a lot of questions, and it's just who I am. And not asking questions in like a judgment way, but just asking questions to get to know, the pulse, grab a pulse. So I want you to maybe think of a client or think of a project that you're working on, and kind of go through these questions with me. And you can put the comments in the chat, or you can just jot it on a piece of paper in a Word doc, whatever you're doing. But these are a lot of things that I work through with clients who are prospective, right? Or even current. So the first question that I always like to ask is, why do we want to transition this event online? What is the why? What is the purpose? Why are we transitioning this event online? I talked to somebody this morning who, they promised an event back in March. They had to cancel it, and now they're trying to fit an event into 2020 to highlight their sponsors and their exhibitors and their attendees who already paid for that event, right? So that's a different why than I want to put out marketing awareness, or I want to build my brand. So why do we want to transition to an online event? The next question is, what will happen to my event when we go online? I have a lot of people that come to me very fearful that when they bring their event online, they're going to lose money, they're going to lose sponsors, they don't know how to communicate that they're transitioning. So just having them think like, okay, what's best case scenario and what's worst case scenario? And usually it kind of falls right in the middle. But what will happen to my event when we go online? Another question that I really like to ask is, what support do we have to do an online event or to host an online event? Online events take probably just as much time, if not more, detail work, behind the scenes work, tech experience and knowledge. So does your client have that support that they need to have an online event? Or is it going to fall on you and your business and your team? So I think it's really important to have those conversations and be like, where's that support coming from? Are we going to have to build this in? And sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and that's okay. But just to have the conversation of like, do you have a marketing team? Do you have an operations team? Do you have somebody who's a tech lead in your business, right? All those questions really help dig out where their mindset is too. Okay. The next is, how will I know when we need to get support? How will I know when we need to get support? I have a lot of people that I talk to and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do a virtual event. We're going to host in Zoom. It'll be great. Okay, that's awesome. But what are the other things that you need to be thinking about, right? it's not only the event itself, it's all the ancillary parts that exist around your event. So it's the communication, it's the engagement pieces, it's the gamification, it's making sure the right people are in the room. There's a lot of pieces moving around that when I ask, like, okay, do you, like, how will you know that you need support? I think that's a really important question to ask a potential client is, you know, how will they know? What's that kind of like light bulb moment for them? And then also another thing is, for you as a professional, what will my client need to get on board with this, right? I don't know about you, but I talk to people who think that a virtual event is something that they need to do, but they are so fearful, so incredibly fearful of doing it. And so that roadblock, that mindset roadblock is, to me, even bigger than I don't have the budget, I don't have the money. Because if your client comes to you and is like, I probably have to do this event because of XYZ, but my constituents are tech averse and they don't understand technology, but I just need to do it, so you do it for me, right? That's a very different mindset than I need, like, I'm hosting this event, really excited, I see all the opportunity for it, our business is totally ready, right? Oh man, it's just so different. So what will they need from you to get on board with this idea if they're not? And then, you know, to them asking, what does a successful virtual event look like for you? Everyone has a different view of what this could be. And again, a lot of folks get locked into the in-person, you know, well, when we had it in person, we were able to, you know, end the event and go to the bar, and that's where everybody networked, and we didn't talk about work, but we got to know one another. So how can you transition that experience of success into a virtual side, right? So I think there are so many ways that we can take these pieces of in-person and put them into a virtual space for the time being until we can do hybrid and hopefully in person. Oh, let me back up here. Sorry. Okay, so those were the questions. Yep, those were the questions that I wanted to ask you guys just to get your mind flowing and working, because I know this has probably been a full day. So here, as we work, as we ask those questions, those curious questions, we're going to transition into building out that framework. So what we do is it's a 7-step framework to really building an online event. Some of them mirror in-person planning. So I'm just going to give you the overarching pillars that we use. And if you guys have questions, just throw them in the chat. I can't see it right now, but I'll definitely get back to you. So the first step, of course, what is the goal of the event? How are we measuring success? Is it percentage of attendance? Is it, you know, a fundraising event? We work with a lot of nonprofits that are transitioning their event right now. And again, they're very nervous. Like, I'm not going to, our organization, you know, has one event a year and we make $100,000. How are we going to do that online? Right. So that's a very different focus from, you know, we want 1,000 people at this lead gen event. Right. So they're different. So you as a planner, as an industry professional, it's just important to know what that goal of the event is. Another question that we ask in this space is the event paid or free? Again, that helps us to know what's the end goal and how are they measuring success. And if they don't know what their goal is, it's okay. You can give guidance, you can work with them, you can suggest resources for them to check out. It doesn't fall on us to say your goal of your event should be XYZ. I've had people ask me that and really put me on the spot, but it's really up to them to decide their goal, and then we work backwards and measure from that. Second step is internal team review. So if you have a potential client, prospective client, asking them who is on their team, you know, who's on your staff or your committee, like what is your makeup structure, who gives approval, how does that all work? Because we want to really seamlessly fit in and work with your team. Yes, we have our ways of doing things, but we also want to make sure that we're seamless in integration with the client. Also finding out their comfortability with tech. Do they have a tech committee for nonprofit? I think we're going to see that become much more of a normal thing. It's kind of like a marketing committee. Well, what's the tech committee up to? And then also, what is their comfortability with online marketing? Online marketing is like hand in hand with a virtual event. I had a client who sent out this, they're very adamant, you know, like paper invites. They sent paper invites for a virtual event. We ended up sending out a virtual invite, which was like, you know, it looked like you got an email, you had an envelope, you clicked the envelope, it opened and took you to a web page. They got way more results from that than sending paper invites. But again, it's about what people are used to and helping them transition to see that there is a difference. So giving that internal team review is super important. The third step is to determine the event experience. So what is the experience that your client is looking for? Is it high in networking and engagement? Is it more intimate? Is it a conference? Is it an expo with trade booths? So what do they want to walk away with? And then how do I get my guest to feel this way before, during, and after? So what we're seeing is so much, you know, pre-engagement, pre-participation to get people up and ready, you know, having pop-up groups either on Facebook or LinkedIn to get that engagement going and that conversation going, because it's kind of similar to going to an event in person. If you don't know anybody, you're a little apprehensive. Well, at least I am. I'm more of an introvert. But you're a little apprehensive and you're just not sure what to expect. So when you do have these groups and communities of people who are just like, you know each other before they even step inside the room, I think there's just so much bonus in that. So then the fourth step is to determine the platform. So this is where a lot of people stop because they just feel so overwhelmed by everything out on the market, or maybe they don't even know where to start. So we help a lot of our clients through those 3 steps before they get to the platform. I have people come to me and they're like, we determined our platform, we know what it is, now we need to do everything else. And I'm kind of like flipping that paradigm on its head, because I really truly feel like the goals, the experience, everything that you want the event to be, you're going to find a platform for probably a majority of it. But if you start out with a platform and then try and fit your experience into that, it's just not going to work. So that's kind of where I'm at with determining the platform. I love doing steps 1 through 3 and then supporting around platform design and getting people comfortable. So then the 5th step is marketing and communications plan. So communicating a plan before, during, and after is super key. Communication with speakers is really key, making sure they have the assets that they need, the social support, the tech support. So this event has done an awesome job with communicating with me as a speaker, making sure I have everything that I need, giving me trainings and one-on-one support, rehearsal, that type of stuff has been super helpful. Again, if you're in a nonprofit space, communication with your guests and your donors is really, really important. Those are your people. And so you want to make sure that they feel fully supported. And, you know, you could give them a sneak peek of the platform to give them what they need ahead of time. So just making sure that this communication plan is really, you know, engaging, you're keeping people moving through the journey and the process before, during, and after the event. We're all professionals. We all know once the event happens, a lot of people are like, great, that happened. But you don't want to leave people hanging. So after the event is also really important to wrap it up and then start planning for the next one, right? As we go into step 6, so again, timeline and tech milestones. So a lot of people think like, oh, this event is going to be so cheap, we're going to plan it super quick. A lot of people are coming to me right now and being like, we want our virtual event in October. And I'm like, that sounds great, but we are probably not the right team for you, because that's too quick of a turnaround.
How do I get to that form?
So with online events, yes, they are less costly. And yes, there's an escalated time frame. It still does take time to plan, and we put all that in place, the technology milestones, platform recommendations, making sure that the communications plan is set, and people feel really supported in the technology side. So the case study that I have here is a client who came to us like right away in March. They canceled all of their quarterly donor events because of COVID. They're a nonprofit in New York, based out of New York, and they support all of the African parks and safari. So they decided to wait and host an event with donors until COVID was over. They thought this would wrap up in maybe 3 months and then we'd be back to normal. So they waited, I don't even know, because they weren't communicating before 2020. So there was a long lag time there that they did not have any events. They weren't communicating with donors because they really want to wait. They wanted to wait until COVID was over. So then they came to us, they kind of walked us through. So they decided to host a really intimate virtual experience with high capacity donors. They came to us with the same thing, our donors are older, they don't know how to use technology, they're not comfortable online. How can we make this happen? So what we did with them is we helped them in a platform that was very user-friendly, very specific to their requirements, to what they wanted from an event. And so the virtual invite came directly from their executive director. They did an awesome job of personally following up one-on-one with all their donors, and really, again, talking them through the mindset of, we just want to share what we're up to because we can't all be together. This event, we also sent out, what did we do? We sent them a gift ahead of time, which was, I think bourbon. It was a bourbon kit. So at the end of the event, we all cheers to all the work that had been done, and we live streamed from an African park. So it was really cool to see it all come together and experience it on a really wide scale level, with from the invite that came through as like a web page, to having speakers from around the world, to being in the African, safari virtually. It was really cool. So there are so many little different touches that can even more enhance their event, because if they were to do that in person, it would have been, at a restaurant. They would have, had somebody speak, but in this case, they could actually see the African safari behind them, and there were animals like just roaming. It was so cool. So there are ways that you can really enhance your relations with your clients, your customers, by being. And then step 7 is to really find your gaps and to bring in support. So this is where we come in as professionals. Is, you might have a client that's like, I just don't know what tech platform to use. I need your help. I don't know the milestones. I've never done this before. So going back to steps 1 through 4 is really critical to find your gaps and to really bring on that support, and give recommendations to prospective clients. So some common event tech issues that we've experienced is for sure underestimating the communication to attendees. So many last minute things happen. Of course, they always do with events, but it's always better to over communicate than under communicate. Also assuming your speakers know the platforms and thinking like, oh, we don't need training for that. They're good. They know how to use that. Overcomplicating the virtual event. This is another thing. I would highly, highly recommend leading your client to the simpler, the better. It's really, it gets cumbersome to not only the team, but the technologist and the attendee when it's overcomplicated. So I would just say, keep it simple, the KISS rule, right? And then the last, I know it's not an event tech issue, but not creating a follow-up plan for attendees. I've try to communicate that best I can with my clients that, you know, once you end the event, our support ends, what is that follow-up plan for your attendees? What's the journey that they're going to take next? I think that's really important to communicate. So this sponsorship tab, I wanted to put it on here because we do work with a lot of nonprofits. And so I get asked a lot, like, well, how do you do a virtual event with sponsorships? Like, how can we sell sponsorships online, right? So what I recommend is to do, you know, take stock of all your virtual assets, and then how can you measure and monetize that? Maybe you have a Facebook page, maybe you have an Instagram stories, email list. You know, you can gauge your in-event audience and kind of give background on that and saying, this is where we're going. This is the vision. Also, Facebook ads, you know, if you're going that direction, you can really get all the analytics on the back end. Also, you know, when you have the event, having a platform that can give you all the data on the back end is so incredibly crucial. So then you can sell that for the next event. So those are a few ways that I've seen really work well with sponsorships. And in every step of the process, just reviewing event goals with your client, making sure that you're on track is super, super important. Here's a couple misconceptions that I've had, like for virtual events when I'm talking to folks is, you know, we don't have food and venue costs, so this event's going to be, you know, so cheap. Or we have people on staff who plan events, so we don't really need a virtual event team. You know, we're going to wait until we have in-person events. I think these are, and, you know, when I'm talking to clients, I actually have the opportunity to really have these full out conversations with them and get curious about why they feel this way. So these are just some misconceptions that I've heard. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot more as well, but these are the common pain points that I hear a lot. And then let me see. Oh, misconceptions. Yep. So then like just checking in with yourself and with your client, like, are you fully committed to this? Is this something that you can support, or are you looking for a scapegoat, right? No judgment. It's just which side are you on? And then thinking outside of the box. It's really important to have I feel like it's part of who I am to think out of the box. But I bring that enthusiasm and excitement to my clients. And that's what they're looking for, because they're unsure. They've never done this before. They're looking to us to be the leaders in where the industry's going. And then the biggest one is, where do you need support to fill in your gaps, right? It's part of it, right? You need a team to create all of this. So how is that happening in real time? And then these are just 3 things, like, are you fully ready to commit to a virtual event? You know, flipping your mindset on its head, gaining awareness and consistency in your messaging. Virtual events help so much with that. And then feeling empowered with the team and plan to thrive. So these are 3 things that we look for in every client when they're just, you know, ready and hungry and just, they want it. They want to say yes. So this is what we do. We do strategy intensives, tech trainings, and full tech support for events. And I'm such a quote person, so I end every presentation with a quote, but I just want to let you guys know, as industry professionals, that everything that you want to create is already inside of you. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Jess. This was really great. Does anybody in the session have any questions or comments? You know, this is an age of conversation, so we can absolutely open it up for discussion. I think we have just a couple minutes, but if there's anything anybody has, I'm happy to field any questions.
Yeah, and I can provide contact information as well. Oh, I do have a website. Yes. I can put it in the comments for you guys.
Thanks.
I also have to compliment Jess on her slides. I felt like I saw them yesterday, obviously, and I think they're really nicely done and well put together and very trendy and posh looking.
Thanks. Yeah, that's our brand. It's like the blush and the sage green and the black, so got to keep on brand. Oh, yeah, I can make the slides available. That would be, is that something that I would send to you, Tammy?
Yeah, let me see how we're doing that. I don't know if they have a spot to do content. But I guess if anybody's interested in the slides, if they can sort of respond in the chat, and I'll keep onto the chat and who is interested, so that we were able to like follow up with you with how that may be available after. I apologize, I don't know the answer to that right this second.
Hey, Tammy and Jess, happy to actually host it. I can talk to Liz on my platform, AmSlide. HD has actually used us to host presentations before, so happy to reach out and make the slides all available to everybody.
We can compile a sticker book of sad moments in TV or happy moments. It doesn't have to be sad, but I know you have Procreate too, so like,
Hey, awesome.
let's make a bunch.
Perfect. So in the chat, I'm seeing those people that are interested in the slides. So Jess, I think you had to scoot, correct?
I do, yep.
Yep.
But I put my email in the chat, so people can feel free to follow up with me that way.
Okay,
and Tammy, I'll share with you my PDF just so you have it.
Okay, no, that's perfect. We actually don't have, so, you know, Jess does need to scoot, and we don't have another session in this room until 12:40 Central. We did have another session scheduled, but the speaker unfortunately had a family emergency and wasn't able to join us. So at this point in time, anybody that wants to hang out here is welcome to. We have a lot of other tracks available. If you kind of go back out to the main room, there's lots of other fun things going on. So just kind of invite you to poke around and enjoy the session.